Chapter 36:16. Lu Ming's speed was even faster than the purple-skinned youth's. He quickly caught up and unleashed a barrage of attacks. Spear light filled the sky, enveloping the purple-skinned youth. He had no way to retreat. Damn it! Attack with all your strength. Attack with all your strength. He won't be able to resist. The purple-skinned youth crazily roared. At the same time, he crazily attacked. His purple sword light whistled, slashing towards Lu Ming's spear light. However, he was completely suppressed by Lu Ming. The sword light and spear light collided. The sword light trembled and then directly shattered. The other heavenly geniuses naturally didn't give up on attacking. All sorts of attacks constantly bombarded Lu Ming's body, but Lu Ming didn't care. Only a few people were able to break through his dragon scales. This was also because Lu Ming now had 7 drops of primordial divine blood. After activating them, they were extremely powerful. If it was just 1 drop, they definitely wouldn't be so strong. Lu Ming didn't care about the others' attacks. He only focused on the purple-skinned youth. This caused the purple-skinned youth to panic. He truly panicked. How is this possible? How can this brat's attacks still be so fierce? How can he still maintain his divine power? The purple-skinned youth was horrified. He couldn't understand how Lu Ming's divine power could be so strong. However, no matter how horrified he was, his fate was already sealed. Although he was strong, he was only on the same level as that burly youth from before. Under Lu Ming's barrage of attacks, he was finally killed by a single spear strike. At this moment, the remaining geniuses were filled with shock and fear. In this short period of time, 4 or 5 of their heavenly geniuses had already been killed by Lu Ming. Furthermore, 2 of them were peak heavenly geniuses. Most importantly, they seemed unable to break through Lu Ming's defenses. Even if they did, Lu Ming would only be lightly injured. If this continued, Lu Ming would sooner or later kill them one by one. Let's go. We're leaving first. Right. Let the heavenly geniuses of the stronger races kill him. I heard that some people have already broken through and reached the 4th level Divine Lord realm. Let those people kill him. The remaining people didn't dare to continue fighting. They all retreated, turning and flying into the distance. Humph. Do you think it's that easy to come and go as you please? Lu Ming harumphed coldly. With a cold look in his eyes, he stepped on the wind-extinguishing boots and turned into a series of shadows, dashing towards the sky prides. Not good. The expressions of those sky prides changed drastically, and there was not a trace of blood in their faces. Kill. Lu Ming let out a long roar. His spear light stretched for tens of thousands of miles and pressed down on the few sky prides. Block it. Those heavenly geniuses roared in terror. They used all their strength to block Lu Ming's attack, but their strength was still lacking compared to the purple-skinned youth. They were unable to block Lu Ming's full-powered attack. As the spear light fell, the bodies and souls of the geniuses were destroyed. This made the other geniuses even more terrified. They scattered and ran for their lives. Kill. Lu Ming chased in another direction and killed a few more people. In the end, a total of more than 10 geniuses were left here forever, while the rest escaped. With so many sky prides fleeing, no matter how strong Lu Ming was, there was no way he could keep them all here. Very quickly, the area calmed down. Lu Ming collected the spatial rings of the slain, heavenly geniuses, and checked them one by one. Regretfully, he was disappointed. He didn't gain anything. Even if these people had obtained divine medicines or treasures like the life genesis grass or heavenly origin fruit, they would have already used them. After all, the current dragon race's mother planet was filled with experts. Refining these treasures to raise their cultivation bases and strength was the best way. The stronger you were, the better you could suppress the crowd and obtain better treasures. It was a virtuous cycle. Lu Ming had originally wanted to see if there were any treasures like the Dragon Bloodstone, but regretfully, he didn't see any. After tidying up, Lu Ming returned to the Black Dragon family. Not long after, the dream space was in an uproar. Someone posted the recording of the battle between the Sky Prides and Lu Ming to the public area of the dream space, causing a commotion. Lu Ming killed many Sky Prides in a row. Such powerful strength was shocking. Some people secretly rejoiced that they didn't participate in the hunt for Lu Ming. As for the majority of the people, they were furious. Especially some races, whose sky prides had died in Lu Ming's hands, were even more furious. A mere aboriginal is so arrogant, courting death. Our strongest sky pride is currently breaking through to the 4th level Divine Lord realm. Once he succeeds, immediately kill him. The Divine Dragon race has already become a thing of the past. The Dragon race's mother planet is our training ground. We can't allow the local aboriginals to rise. Many powerful existences spread the word that they wanted to gather more experts to kill Lu Ming. However, they were soon slapped in the face. Because there were others who went to kill the 8-clawed Divine Dragon, as well as another young dragon man wearing a flaming dragon armor, they didn't succeed either. Many of them were killed, and the other party broke out of the encirclement. This also caused a commotion. The fantasy space was quiet for a while, and then there was an even greater clamor. Someone spread the word that they must completely suppress and kill the local sky prides of the dragon race. For a time, a storm was brewing. It's really lively. Lu Ming looked at the fantasy space for a while and smiled faintly. Regarding this, he didn't care. As long as he was strong enough, he didn't need to fear these people. However, Lu Ming had to consider another problem. It was him who killed so many races' sky prides. Could it be that he wouldn't leave the dragon race's mother planet in the future? Once he left the dragon race's mother planet and trained in the primitive universe, there would probably be enemies everywhere. There's no other way. If I don't kill them, they will kill me. I'll take it one step at a time. At the critical moment, I can reveal my identity and say that I'm not from the dragon race's mother planet. In this way, I'll only offend a portion of people and not all of them. Lu Ming was thinking. However, unless it was a last resort, Lu Ming wouldn't do this. He now needed the locals of the dragon race's mother planet to help him find the whereabouts of Xianyanqing and Qiuyu. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Lu Ming circulated the universe myriad Dao technique and began to cultivate. In the surrounding space, a steady stream of divine qi gathered toward Lu Ming and was refined by Lu Ming. Not long after, Lu Ming recovered to his peak state. Then, Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Feng Zhou. Not long after, Feng Zhou and the others returned to the Black Dragon family. Unfortunately, there was still no news of Qiuyu and Xianyanqing. However, they heard some other news. Many of the native Dragonians of the dragon race's mother planet had already broken through to the Divine Lord realm. Some of them even had conflicts with outsiders and were forcefully suppressed. The conflict between the outsiders and the native Dragonians was getting deeper and deeper. Lu Ming thought for a moment and then asked Feng Zhou to open the Black Dragon Valley. He entered the Black Dragon Valley again. With his current strength, he could enter deeper into the Black Dragon Valley. Moreover, Qiuyu was teleported away from the 6-clawed Black Dragon's base. This was the Black Dragon Valley. Lu Ming had always suspected that Qiuyu might be in the depths of the Black Dragon Valley. Although Feng Zhou once said that the Black Dragon had left behind many ruins on the dragon race's mother planet, the Black Dragon Valley was not the only one. Chapter 36:17. Very quickly, Lu Ming arrived at the same place he had been last time and continued forward. Not long after, he encountered a 4th-layer Divine Lord Draconic Beast. Lu Ming used his full strength to kill the 4th-layer Divine Lord Draconic Beast and continued his exploration. This exploration lasted for a few days. However, Lu Ming's luck seemed to have run out. Or perhaps, Lu Ming had already dug up all the dragon bloodstones in the Black Dragon Valley. In these past few days, Lu Ming hadn't found a single dragon bloodstone. However, he had found quite a few divine herbs. Moreover, the deeper he went into the Black Dragon Valley, the denser the divine energy and the more extraordinary the divine herbs. Lu Ming guessed that there might be divine herbs in the depths of the Black Dragon Valley that would be useful to divine emperors or even higher experts. In addition, Lu Ming had obtained 7 stalks of Genesis grass. This was a great harvest. Lu Ming retreated at this time because the draconic beasts were too strong and he couldn't continue forward. After leaving the Black Dragon Valley and returning to the Black Dragon family, Lu Ming began to refine the Genesis grass. After refining all 7 stalks of Genesis grass, Lu Ming had two more divine powers that had undergone their fifth awakening. In this way, Lu Ming had a total of 5 divine powers that had undergone their fifth awakening. His strength had increased by a bit. In addition, Lu Ming had also refined 3 heavenly source fruits. The heavenly source fruit could help people sever the shackles of their origin's secret arts. However, all of Lu Ming's origin's secret arts had severed one shackle. Wanting to sever the second shackle was too difficult, 10 times harder than the first. Lu Ming had originally wanted to sever the Tyrant God Spear's second shackle, but unfortunately, even after refining 3 heavenly source fruits, he still hadn't succeeded. However, he could feel that he had already taken a huge step forward. He wasn't far from severing the second shackle. If he had a few more heavenly source fruits, he would definitely succeed. Once he severed the Tyrant God Spear's second shackle, it would release an even more terrifying power. Let's go take a look at the Evil Soul Valley, Lu Ming muttered. Lu Ming had learned about the Evil Spirit Valley from Feng Zhou. It was located to the north of the Black Dragon Valley, a long distance away. There was a strange place here called the Evil Soul Valley. It was strange and unpredictable. Before the Dragon Clan's mother planet recovered, this was a forbidden area. After the mother planet of the Dragon Clan had recovered, this place had become even more sinister. The native dragon people did not dare to go there. However, in Lu Ming's eyes, some of the relics and forbidden areas on the dragon race's mother planet might contain great opportunities. Now that Lu Ming had already explored the Golden Dragon Ridge and the Black Dragon Valley, it would be very difficult to go any further unless Lu Ming's battle prowess had another major breakthrough. However, Lu Ming's cultivation had just broken into the Divine Lord realm not too long ago. Even if he had the best cultivation environment, it was impossible for him to make a breakthrough in a short period of time, unless he had a massive number of divine medicines. Therefore, Lu Ming's eyes were fixed on other relics, holy lands, forbidden areas, and so on. The Evil Soul Valley was the closest to the Black Dragon family, so Lu Ming planned to explore it. The Dreamland was still in an uproar, but it would not be so easy to organize experts to deal with Lu Ming again. Moreover, Lu Ming had warned Feng Zhou and the others that if a powerful enemy came, they should immediately leave the Black Dragon family and scatter to various places. It was more important to protect their lives. After preparing, Lu Ming set off and headed north. Along the way, he did not encounter any outside Sky Prides. Now, the Sky Prides from outside were eager to explore the various relics and holy lands to obtain opportunities, so they would not wander around. However, Lu Ming did encounter some native dragon people. Some of these people were controlled by outsiders who asked them to search for divine medicines and treasures. Some dragon people were unwilling to be controlled by outsiders. Like the people of the Black Dragon family, they scattered to various places to avoid outsiders and search for divine medicines to cultivate. Lu Ming ignored these people and flew north. On the dragon race's mother planet, Lu Ming's flying speed became extremely slow. After flying for 3 days, Lu Ming arrived at his destination, the Evil Soul Valley. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Gusts of cold wind blew, making people shiver. Lu Ming used his divine power to resist. In front of him, there was a huge valley. It was incomparably wide and filled with fog. He could not see the end of it. Lu Ming did not hesitate and directly rushed in. In the Evil Soul Valley, the cold air was even more intense, and the cold wind whistled. Lu Ming used his divine power to protect his body, slowed down, and slowly walked into the Evil Soul Valley. Will a place like this really contain opportunities? Will it give birth to treasures? Lu Ming whispered, expressing some doubts. Soon, Lu Ming traveled a few hundred miles. Roar, caw. There were roars and cries, and the wind whistled, pouncing toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming thought it was a dragon beast. With a wave of his hand, divine light flashed and swept out, and several creatures of different forms exploded. There were tiger-shaped creatures, bird-shaped creatures, and some other strange creatures. There were as many as 7 or 8 of them. However, these creatures seemed to be illusory. After being broken by Lu Ming's divine light, they condensed again and let out all kinds of strange cries, pouncing toward Lu Ming again. Spirit bodies. Lu Ming frowned. These creatures were not flesh and blood creatures, but spirit bodies. No wonder the move just now was useless. It was as if he had hit empty air. All kinds of strange cries came from all directions, and it was extremely ear-piercing. Then, all kinds of spirit bodies appeared. These soul bodies were very brutal. There was a murderous aura in their eyes, and they were filled with murderous intent. They charged at Lu Ming crazily. The tyrant god's spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand and swept out. Bang, bang, bang. These spirit bodies all exploded, but in the next moment, they condensed again. What strong and strange spirit bodies. They can't be killed. Lu Ming was a little surprised. Even if they were spirit bodies, with their attack power, they would be destroyed in one blow. However, these spirit bodies had astonishing vitality and were fine. As expected of the evil Soul Valley, it lives up to its name. There was a terrible war on the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Not only did the Divine Dragon Clan suffer heavy casualties, but the other clans that came to attack also suffered heavy losses. I don't know how many experts died in the war. Could these souls have mutated from those experts who died in the war? Lu Ming guessed in his heart. The battle back then was incomparably fierce, and who knows how many experts died in the battle. Moreover, these experts were astonishingly strong. They were not as simple as divine kings or divine lords. Even divine emperors and stronger existences had died in the battle. These existences mutated into evil spirits after death. It was incomparably strange. Is there really an opportunity in this place? Lu Ming seriously doubted and wanted to retreat. Moreover, he did not see any other outsiders occupying this place. He reckoned that he would really have made a wasted trip. However, since he was already here, he was not willing to let Lu Ming retreat like this. Lu Ming was a little unwilling. He planned to continue exploring. Son of the Sun. Lu Ming's heart stirred. His body lit up, and a sun appeared above his head. Chapter 36:18. The sun was extremely young, and it was most effective against evil souls. As expected, the sun emitted a dazzling light. When those evil souls were swept by the light, they let out a sizzling sound and quickly retreated. It's effective. Lu Ming smiled and stepped forward. As soon as he stepped forward, those evil souls retreated, as if they were afraid of the sun's light. Lu Ming smiled and increased his speed. On the way, more and more evil souls surrounded Lu Ming. These evil souls came in all kinds of shapes and sizes, and they came from different races. Lu Ming carefully identified these races. The majority of them came from the great races of the great desolate 10,000 races. In this way, Lu Ming traveled another 10,000 miles. Unfortunately, he didn't find anything. This territory seemed to be a barren land. Kid, go to the left. There's something there. Suddenly, Bone Devil spoke. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with anticipation. Could there really be a treasure? Lu Ming immediately went to the left. Not long after, Lu Ming saw a stalk of grass. Evil Soul Valley was barren and deathly silent. But now, he saw a stalk of grass. It was simply a miracle. This stalk of grass was pitch black, and it emitted powerful spiritual strength. This is 10,000 soul grass. It's extremely precious. Even god kings would be envious of it and fight over it. After consuming it, not only will it strengthen your soul and increase your lifespan, but it will also increase the strength of your soul. Bone Devil explained. Lu Ming's eyes brightened. Ignoring everything else, just the fact that even god kings would be envious of it was priceless. There weren't many things that were valuable to god kings, and each of them was precious. For example, the divine medicines Lu Ming had obtained before were only useful to divine sovereigns. They weren't useful to god kings. Of course, he couldn't rule out the possibility that Golden Dragon Ridge or Black Dragon Valley had divine medicines that were useful to god kings. But Lu Ming couldn't get them right now. Lu Ming strode forward, wanting to pick the 10,000 soul grass. But, suddenly, dozens of evil souls flew out from the ground around the 10,000 spirit grass. They roared and charged at Lu Ming. Even the light of the sun could not stop these evil souls. The top 100 races of the wilderness 10,000 races. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He could tell that these phantoms were from the top 100 tribes of the ancient desolation 10,000 tribes ranking. These tribes were not to be underestimated. They possessed incredible talents, and the phantoms they turned into after their deaths were extremely powerful as well. The sun did not have much effect on them. However, Lu Ming still had a backup plan. Bell of Evil. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat, and the wicked bell appeared, making a ringing sound. The bell of heavenly evil was used to affect souls. Since it could attack souls, it could naturally attack these evil souls as well. The sound of the heavenly evil bell spread out, and the evil souls were greatly affected. Their soul bodies began to tremble, and their faces became ferocious. They twisted together and let out ear-piercing screams. Go! Lu Ming waved his hands, and the great sun flew out, sprinkling rays of strong yang rays. Those soul bodies emitted sizzling sounds, emitting bursts of black smoke. It was indeed effective. The combination of the wicked bell and the sun finally had a great effect on these evil souls. Lu Ming stepped forward, and the evil souls retreated in fear. Soon, Lu Ming arrived in front of the 10,000 spirit grass. He took out a jade box and put the 10,000 spirit grass into his storage ring. If the old Taishu Saint Emperor knew about this 10,000 spirit grass, he would probably go crazy. Lu Ming muttered. The 10,000 spirit grass was very useful to divine emperors, as it could extend their lifespan. The Taishu Saint Emperor had searched for this treasure for his entire life, but he could not find it. After Lu Ming put it away, he left. The evil souls did not dare to chase after Lu Ming. After obtaining the 10,000 spirit grass, Lu Ming became interested in this area. Although it was deathly still, the treasures it produced were not to be underestimated. Life was a strange thing. Life could be born in any harsh environment. The worse the environment, the more likely it was to produce peerless treasures. Sure enough, in the next half a day, Lu Ming found 2 more divine herbs. These 2 divine herbs contained a large amount of life energy. A deathly still place could produce treasures that contained a large amount of life energy. It was really strange. Moreover, Bone Devil speculated that this divine herb would be very useful to divine emperors, as it could help them break through. But for divine emperors, the energy was too strong and could not be refined. It would cause them to explode. Even so, if they sold it, it would be invaluable. Old Liang, can you refine this divine herb? Lu Ming asked about the measure formula. This divine herb was very useful to divine emperors. If the measure formula could refine it, wouldn't his cultivation advance by leaps and bounds? I can refine it, but it's a divine herb exclusive to divine emperors. Its medicinal strength is too strong. My ability to refine it is closely related to your cultivation level. Given your current cultivation level, I won't be able to refine it as fast as you, said the measure formula. It's fine if it's slow. I'll give you one. Lu Ming took out a divine herb and had the measure formula swallow it. At this moment, the black mist churned and several figures appeared, surrounding Lu Ming. They're not evil souls. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. These few figures were filled with powerful vitality and blood aura. They were not evil souls at all, but living creatures. He hadn't expected that there would be other people in Evil Soul Valley besides him. Wu people. Then, Lu Ming looked around and narrowed his eyes. There were 4 people in total, all wrapped in black robes embroidered with strange patterns. Lu Ming recognized them at first glance. They were the elites of the Wu people. The sorcerer tribe had done a lot of research on souls and specialized in souls. This place might be very attractive to the sorcerer tribe, so it was normal for them to come here. I didn't expect that there would be other people here besides us. What should we do? The Wu people talked for a while and sized up Lu Ming. Kill him, of course. We can't let this kid ruin our plan, said one of the Wu people. Then, the Wu people took out all kinds of treasures, such as wooden fish, small bells, and so on. Let's attack together. This kid also uses a secret art that attacks souls. Be careful. Several members of the Wu tribe glanced at the bell of evil. Ring, ring, ring. Clang. Then, the 4 Wu people's elites attacked directly. 4 kinds of sounds turned into sound waves that attacked souls and surged toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming also activated the heavenly evil bell to block the attacks of these people. At the same time, the 4 Wu people's elites waved their hands, and puppets appeared one after another. They screamed and attacked Lu Ming. There were at least dozens of puppets, and they were all very strong. Kill! Lu Ming shouted coldly. He waved the Overlord's spear and stared at one of the Wu people's elites. The spear light shone brightly and exploded 7 or 8 puppets. The 4 Wu people's elites were shocked. Obviously, Lu Ming's strength was beyond their expectations. Chapter 36:19. Lu Ming stared at a Wu people youth and attacked fiercely. He wiped out a group of puppets in an instant, and his spear stabbed toward that person like a dragon. Boom! The puppets in front of that person exploded. That Wu people youth was only a 3rd-level Divine Lord, and he was just an ordinary prodigy, not a top one. Lu Ming had already killed a few of such people before entering the dragon race's mother planet. How could this person stop Lu Ming? The spear light completely enveloped the Wu people youth, and his expression changed drastically. He was about to use a scarecrow substitute to dodge the sure kill attack. However, Lu Ming had fought with the Wu people a few times and knew their tricks. With a thought, the gate of domination flew out and released a powerful suction force, sealing the void. Then, the spear light pressed down, and the Wu people youth screamed as his body was torn into pieces. Under the suppression of the gate of domination, that person's scarecrow substitute couldn't be used at all. All of this seemed to take a long time, but it actually happened in an instant. In an instant, Lu Ming had already killed a Wu people prodigy. At the same time, the puppets used by the other Wu people were only approaching Lu Ming. Boom! The Overlord God's spear swept out, and the puppets exploded one by one. The remaining 3 Wu people had ugly expressions. In their eyes, Lu Ming was their nemesis. Soul attacks were useless against Lu Ming, and they couldn't even use Scarecrow Substitute. Distance yourself. A Wu people youth's hoarse voice rang out as he quickly retreated. The Wu people had strange means and powerful soul power, but their divine bodies weren't strong enough, and they couldn't fight in close combat. If they encountered an ordinary opponent, they could use soul attacks to disturb the opponent and release puppets to kill the opponent directly. However, it was obviously ineffective against Lu Ming. They could only retreat and use other means to attack Lu Ming. The 3 Wu people youths rapidly retreated. Then, with a wave of their hands, rays of gray divine light shot towards Lu Ming. These rays of divine light were filled with corrosive energy and had an incomparably foul stench. Lu Ming waved his hand and several spear lights burst out, destroying the gray energy. He then stepped on the wind-extinguishing boots and quickly approached the 3 Wu people youths. The time has come. Die. At this moment, one of the Wu people shouted and quickly formed a seal. As his hands formed a seal, Lu Ming's body suddenly felt a tearing pain, as if he was being bitten by thousands of insects. Lu Ming took a look and discovered that countless light spots had appeared on the surface of his body. They were densely packed. These light spots were actually worms. Countless tiny bugs, with mouths like 2 knives, kept biting Lu Ming's body, as if they wanted to tear Lu Ming apart. Goo worm. Lu Ming frowned slightly. This should be a type of goo worm. It was very powerful, and it was very strange. Lu Ming actually didn't notice when the other party had planted the goo worm on him. These Wu people are really not easy to deal with. Even if you're stronger than them, you can still be killed by them. But now that you've met me, break. Lu Ming shouted and activated the power of the primordial divine blood. Roar. A dragon's roar resounded. Countless divine dragons seemed to rush out of Lu Ming's body. These were all formed from boundless energy, and their power was boundless. When they charged out, those goo worms exploded one after another. In the blink of an eye, the densely packed goo worms were all smashed to pieces. Puff. The Wu people youth who had planted the goo worms trembled and spat out a mouthful of blood. Run! With a loud roar, he tried to escape. But how could Lu Ming let them escape? At this moment, he activated the power of the primordial divine blood. His battle strength was extremely strong, and he caught up with the 3 Wu people prodigies like a gust of wind. Boom! The Overlord's spear swept out with the Overlord God's gate. Bang! Bang! After 2 consecutive explosions, 2 of the Sorcerer Tribe's geniuses exploded and died on the spot. The 3rd Wu people youth didn't explode, but he was severely injured. He flew 100 meters and fell to the ground, spitting out blood. He couldn't move anymore. Of course, Lu Ming had shown mercy. Otherwise, he wouldn't have survived. Lu Ming purposely left one of them behind because he had something to ask. In a flash, Lu Ming landed beside the young man from the sorcerer tribe and stepped on him. This step was like a mountain pressing down on the Wu people youth, making it difficult for him to move. Kid, how dare you kill the Wu people? You're dead. Do you know how powerful the Wu people are? 120 on the 10,000 races list. The Wu people youth shouted. At the same time, his forehead glowed and a jade talisman appeared. This was the dreamy sacred jade. He wanted to use the dreamy sacred jade to spread the news. However, Lu Ming would not let him have his way. He kicked the man's eyebrows, causing him to feel dizzy. Then, Lu Ming grabbed the dreamy sacred jade with his palm. Tell me, what are the Wu people doing here? How many people are here other than you? Lu Ming asked coldly. He didn't believe that only 4 people from the Wu people were here. There must be more. Kill me if you want. Dream on if you want me to say something. The Wu people youth looked coldly at Lu Ming. Then I'll send you on your way. Lu Ming exerted force with his foot and stomped the person to death. If the youth didn't say anything, he didn't care. At most, he would be more careful. It seems that there are indeed a lot of Wu people here. I have to be more careful. I can't be so ostentatious. Lu Ming looked at the heavenly evildoer bell, which was suspended in the air with a headache and the sun. Both of them were too ostentatious. The solar sun was suspended above his head, like a big light bulb. It could be seen from a distance. Although the wicked bell didn't emit any light, it had to ring nonstop in order to deal with the evil souls in the surroundings. It could be heard from far away. Therefore, he couldn't use these two things. After thinking for a while, Lu Ming had an idea. With a thought, he put away the heavenly evildoer bell and the great solar sun, leaving only the wind-extinguishing boots. As soon as the evil bell and the solar sun were put away, the evil souls around screamed and rushed at Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming increased his speed. His body flashed like a phantom, avoiding the evil souls one by one. He passed through the gaps between these evil souls and went deep into the evil soul valley. These evil souls were also fast, but they were still slower than Lu Ming. Lu Ming's figure seemed to have turned into an illusion. He kept flashing and successfully avoided the evil souls as he continued to move forward. Ordinary evil souls couldn't catch up with Lu Ming. Of course, there were some evil souls with amazing strength and speed. They were the evil souls ranked in the top 100 of the list of 10,000 primitive tribes. When he encountered these evil souls, Lu Ming took a detour from afar and did not fight them head-on. Chapter 36:20. Just like that, Lu Ming walked for about 3 hours. Suddenly, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He found that the number of evil souls here had decreased by a lot. They were very sparse. He didn't even encounter a single evil soul. It was empty. Something's wrong. A thought flashed through Lu Ming's mind. He reduced his speed, restrained his aura, and moved forward carefully. True enough, Lu Ming made a discovery not long after. There were hundreds of people in front of him. They were all wearing black robes. Their faces were skinny and their eyes were cold. They were all prodigies of the Wu people. There were hundreds of Wu people prodigies, and they were surrounding a mound. He didn't know what they were doing. Lu Ming restrained his aura and hid behind a huge rock, looking ahead carefully. The mound was very big. It was at least 100 meters tall. From afar, Lu Ming finally made a discovery. There were runes on the surface of the mound. These runes intertwined to form a large array that covered the mound. The Wu people prodigies were breaking the array. Among the hundreds of elites of the sorcerer tribe, dozens of them stood guard around the area. The rest of the sorcerer tribe prodigies dashed around the mound and ran in a strange and mysterious manner. Every time they ran, a beam of light would fly out and into the mound. They were obviously breaking the array. Lu Ming was curious. What was under the mound? There were hundreds of Wu people prodigies breaking the array. Lu Ming waited quietly. After a few hours, the Wu people prodigies stopped and sat down cross-legged to rest. After resting for a while, the Wu people prodigies started breaking the array again. Lu Ming was very patient. He waited. He guessed that there was something extraordinary under the mound. If there was some treasure, he could take it when the Wu people prodigies broke the array. Now he just had to wait quietly. This wait lasted for 7 days. After so many Wu people trying to break the array finally loosened. Lu Ming discovered that some of the runes on the mound were beginning to dim. Some of the runes on the edges had even disappeared. It's effective. Put in more effort and you'll succeed. There's definitely something extraordinary sealed below. Once we get it, we'll be rich. On the Dragon Clan's mother planet, we might even be one step ahead of others. Many Wu people youths were overjoyed and continued to work hard to break the formation. Everything was difficult at the beginning. As the runes on the mound began to weaken, the Wu people's geniuses began to break the formation faster and faster. Those runes continued to disappear. Then, 3 days later, the runes on the mound completely disappeared. The great formation had been broken. The Wu people's eyes lit up as they stared at the mound in front of them. "Break him," someone said. Following that, several Wu people's prodigies took action together. Divine force pervaded the air, forming 2 large gray hands. They grabbed the mound of dirt and forcefully pulled it apart. Rumble. With a loud rumble, the mound of dirt was split into 2 halves. Roar. At this moment, a dragon's roar came from the mound of dirt, piercing through the sky. Then, rays of light filled the air, so dazzling that it was difficult to open one's eyes. What's that? All the Wu people's youths, as well as Lu Ming, were very curious. They stared at the mound of dirt. The mound of dirt was completely split apart, and the light dimmed. Then, everyone saw a crystal floating in the air. It was a square crystal about 3 meters in length, width, and height. What was surprising was that there was a dragon in the crystal. There was a divine dragon in the crystal. It was very small, less than 2 meters long. It was sealed in the crystal, motionless. Is this a 9-claw dragon? Lu Ming's pupils suddenly constricted. He was shocked. The divine dragon in the crystal had 9 dragon claws under its abdomen. A 9-clawed dragon. This was the first time that Lu Ming had seen a 9-clawed dragon. There was a 9-clawed dragon sealed in the crystal in this mound of dirt. Then, was it dead or alive? The people of the Wu people were also stunned. They stared at the crystal with wide eyes. Obviously, it was also beyond their expectations. They had thought that there would be treasures in the crystal, but they didn't expect that there was a 9-clawed dragon sealed in the crystal. The talents of the Wu people looked at each other and didn't know what to do next. What should we do now? A talent of the Wu people asked. The 9-clawed dragon is a legendary divine dragon. It was extremely rare even at the peak of the divine dragon tribe. Every one of them was a peerless talent with great strength. I think that since we have encountered it, we can't miss it. Let's take this crystal out and give it to the ancestors of the tribe. They will definitely reward us handsomely. A young man of the Wu people said, "That's true, but who should go?" Another Wu people spoke. The scene suddenly became quiet. The young men of the Wu people looked at each other, but no one dared to go. Was this 9-clawed dragon alive or dead? How strong was its cultivation? If it was a top master of the divine dragon tribe and was still alive, wouldn't it be courting death if they attacked it? Thinking of this, they felt a chill in their hearts. Some people couldn't help but take a few steps back. Crack. At this moment, a crisp sound rang out. It was extremely clear in the silent environment. Everyone's gaze was fixed on the crystal. They saw that a crack had appeared on the crystal. Everyone was shocked and couldn't help but step back again and again. Their faces were solemn. The crystal cracked. Was the 9-clawed dragon inside the crystal really not dead and was going to come out? The people of the Wu people were a little scared. Don't be afraid. This divine dragon may not be alive. And I think this divine dragon's horn should be very young. A young man of the Wu people suddenly said and calmed down. Very young? The other young men of the Wu people were curious. That's right. I've studied the divine dragon clan before and looked through several ancient books. The age of the dragon clan can generally be determined from their dragon horns. Different dragon horns represent different ages. Judging from the length of this divine dragon clan's dragon horn, I estimate that he is definitely not more than 500 years old. The young man of the Wu people said, Not more than 500 years old? The eyes of the prodigies of the Wu people lit up. How old could 500 years old be? It was too young and immature for the immortals. In their view, this was just a small dragon. How strong could a small dragon less than 500 years old be? They immediately felt relieved. This was not a mystical dragon at the level of an old monster, but a young dragon. They had nothing to fear. Those under 500 years old could at most be regarded as the younger generation. Crack, crack. More and more cracks appeared on the crystal. 2, 3, 4, 5. After a while, the crystal was full of cracks. Chapter 36:21. As more and more cracks appeared on the surface of the crystal, everyone couldn't help but feel nervous. Bang! In the end, the crystal completely exploded. A 9-clawed dragon floated in the air, motionless. Everyone in the Wu people looked at the 9-clawed dragon. It's not dead. It's still alive. Judging from his life aura, he's really from the younger generation. He's quite young. The young men in the Wu people exclaimed. It was indeed possible to tell a person's approximate age from their vitality. Although it was impossible to tell how young they were, it was still possible to tell their approximate age. They could sense that the 9-clawed dragon was really young. It was definitely not more than 500 years old. Many people's eyes lit up. A young 9-clawed divine dragon was simply too valuable. If he could tame it and turn it into his mount or guardian beast, how powerful would it become in the future? How much would the powerful cultivators of the Wu people be rewarded if they could capture the 9-clawed dragon and hand it over to them? Capture it! A young man in the Wu people couldn't help but shout. He flew forward and formed a giant hand, grabbing at the 9-clawed dragon. The giant hand covered a radius of dozens of miles and was about to grab the 9-clawed dragon. Roar! Suddenly, a dragon roar sounded. The 9-clawed dragon suddenly opened its eyes. 2 beams of light shot out from them. Then, it twisted its body and flew out. Its 9 dragon claws tore the giant hand apart. Roar! The divine dragon roared. Its dragon might shook the void and souls. The young man in the Wu people turned pale. He wanted to retreat, but it was too late. The 9-clawed dragon rushed over and clawed at the young man in the Wu people. The young man screamed and his body was torn apart. Then, the 9-clawed divine dragon scanned the surroundings with an extremely cold gaze. Watch out! Many Wu people were frightened and retreated. However, they quickly calmed down. Don't panic. This 9-clawed dragon is only a 2nd-level divine lord. Someone shouted. Everyone sensed that he was indeed a 2nd-level divine lord. Although legends said that the 9-clawed dragon was a peerless prodigy of the divine dragon clan and each one was incomparably powerful, it was only a 2nd-level divine lord. No matter how strong it was, there was also a limit. Moreover, their Wu people had over 100 people. All of them were proud sons of heaven. Their cultivations were all 3rd-level divine lords. Among them, some of their talents were also very shocking. With so many people, why would they be afraid of a 9-clawed dragon? You are from the Wu people? Die! The 9-clawed dragon glanced at the crowd and let out a furious roar. Its body rapidly expanded. Originally, it was only 2 meters long, but in the blink of an eye, it grew to 10,000 meters long. Its body was shining with divine light as it charged toward the Wu people's prodigies. Let's take him down together. Attack! The prodigies of the Wu people shouted and took out their weapons. Their weapons were all soundwave-type weapons, and their voices were sent out to attack the 9-clawed dragon's soul. Roar! The 9-clawed dragon roared, and invisible sound waves spread in all directions. It actually blocked the soul attacks of the Wu people. The 9-clawed dragon is indeed extraordinary. Its roar contains a soul attack. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. This way, the soul attacks of the Wu people were ineffective against the 9-clawed dragon. After blocking the soul attacks of the Wu people, the 9-clawed dragon roared and charged toward a direction. Its body was covered in divine light as its 9 dragon claws continuously stomped on the air. Its power was shocking. Kill! The prodigies of the Wu people shouted and waved their hands. One by one, wooden puppets flew out. These wooden puppets wielded all kinds of weapons and charged toward the nine-clawed dragon. Their power was also very shocking. Each wooden puppet had the battle power of a third-level divine lord. However, when the nine-clawed dragon's claws stomped on them, the wooden puppets exploded. The nine-clawed divine dragon was extremely ferocious. As it rushed past, the wooden puppets shattered. Then, it stomped its claws repeatedly, causing a huge explosion in the air. The two young sorcerer tribesmen were killed before they could even let out a scream. So strong. Lu Ming was also a bit shocked. The nine-clawed dragon's power was beyond his imagination. Its battle power was astonishing when it went berserk. They were both second-level divine lords. Lu Ming reckoned that he would have to go all out and unleash all his strength in order to suppress the other party. The nine-clawed dragon was actually so powerful? Then why didn't the nine dragons show such power in the small world? When he was in the primordial realm of the heaven world, Lu Ming had heard of the legends of the nine dragons. Although the nine dragons were strong, they weren't too strong. Could it be that they need to reach a certain level to unleash all their potential? Lu Ming pondered. This was the case for some powerful races or people with special constitutions. Before their cultivation reached a certain level, they couldn't unleash their potential. For example, Autumn Moon's 9 Orifices Sacred Heart. Before Autumn Moon became an immortal, he couldn't unleash the power and potential of the 9 Orifices Sacred Heart. When Autumn Moon became an immortal, he awakened the 9 Orifices Sacred Heart. Perhaps the same was true for the nine-clawed dragon. Before reaching a certain level, it couldn't unleash all its potential. After all, the nine dragons were only heavenly emperors in the small world. As Lu Ming pondered, the battle in front of him became more intense. In just a short while, a few more young prodigies of the Wu people were killed by the nine-clawed dragon. The trump card of the Wu people was soul attacks. Once their soul attacks were ineffective, their battle power would be greatly reduced. Damn it! Stay together. Don't split up. A young prodigy of the Wu people shouted. The remaining 90 or so people gathered together and threw out a large number of puppets. There were at least a few hundred puppets that charged towards the nine dragons. However, the nine-clawed dragon's battle power was really strong. Its defense was even more amazing. The puppets' attacks couldn't even break the dragon's scales when they landed on the nine-clawed dragon's body. The nine dragons charged forward and destroyed the puppets, charging towards the sorcerer tribe. It's time. Attack. Suddenly, a young prodigy of the Wu people said. Then, he quickly formed hand seals with his hands. At the same time, a dozen young men of the Wu people also formed hand seals with their hands. Roar. At this moment, the nine-clawed dragon roared at the sky. It seemed to be in great pain. Even from a distance, Lu Ming could clearly see that there were many insects on the nine-clawed dragon's body. Goo worms. All of them were goo worms. Many of the goo worms attached themselves to the nine-clawed dragon's body and bit it continuously. There were also some very small goo worms that burrowed into the nine-clawed dragon's scales and started biting it. The nine-clawed dragon roared and twisted its body continuously. It seemed to be in great pain. Ha ha ha. No matter how strong the nine-clawed dragon is, it's still going to die. A young man from the shaman tribe laughed loudly. He was very pleased with himself, and his hands moved even faster. Chapter 36:22. Nine-clawed dragon, is that all you've got? Lu Ming muttered. He didn't help because he wanted to see what the nine-clawed dragon was capable of. Legend had it that the nine-clawed dragon was extremely powerful. Was that all? Sure enough, things took a turn for the better in the next moment. The nine-clawed divine dragon roared into the sky. His body emitted a dazzling divine light. Then, the goo worms on the surface of his body exploded one after another, killed by the divine light. In an instant, all the goo worms were gone. Wu people, all of you must die. The nine-clawed dragon roared with cold, murderous intent. It seemed to hate the Wu people. Poof! The Wu people who controlled the goo worms spat out mouthfuls of blood as their goo worms were destroyed. They retreated and their faces became even paler. The nine-clawed dragon charged over with an unstoppable force. Two beams of light shot out from its dragon horn. These two beams of light were extremely sharp. They swept out and cut a dozen puppets in half. 5 Wu people youths were cut in half and their souls were destroyed. This caused the prodigies of the Wu people to panic. They couldn't help but retreat. The 9-clawed dragon took the opportunity to attack. Damn it! Set up the 10,000 souls array. I don't believe we can't kill it. A top prodigy of the Wu people shouted. This person was extremely powerful. He was one of the prodigies of the Wu people. He opened his mouth and a small flag flew out and floated in the air. Life-bound shaman artifact. A Wu people youth exclaimed. Every member of the sorcerer tribe would cultivate a natal sorcerer weapon. Their souls resided in the natal sorcerer weapon. For the members of the sorcerer tribe, the natal sorcerer weapon was of utmost importance. Once the natal sorcerer weapon was damaged, the consequences would be dire. Normally, they would only use it when they were in a desperate situation. What are you waiting for? Take out your life-bound shaman artifact and set up the 10,000 souls array. Do you want to die? The youth roared. Okay, set up the 10,000 souls array. Let's fight. The other elites of the Wu people gritted their teeth. Their bodies glowed and a Dharma artifact flew out from each of their bodies. They all had different appearances. More than 80 prime witchcraft artifacts flew in mysterious trajectories. Roar! The 9-clawed dragon rushed over. However, the 80 natal magical weapons connected with each other and formed a light screen in front of the 9-clawed dragon. The 9-clawed dragon reached out with its claw, but it was unable to pierce through the light screen. Rise! All the young men from the sorcerer tribe shouted. Their bodies were covered with a dark divine light. Their natal sorcerer weapons shone with a dazzling light and danced in the air. Then, black chains suddenly appeared and wrapped around the 9-clawed divine dragon. In an instant, at least 100 black chains appeared in the void. These black chains were as thick as an arm. They weren't real, but were formed from soul power. Roar! The 9-clawed dragon roared and rushed in one direction. Its dragon horns glowed, and 2 beams of divine light slashed out. These 2 beams of divine light were extremely sharp and seemed to be able to cut through anything. However, when they hit the black chains, they bounced back as if they had hit leather. The 9-clawed dragon's 9 dragon claws stomped on the black chains. The dragon claws that could tear through anything could not tear through the black chains. It was as if the black chain could not withstand any force. Any attack would be reflected back. In an instant, the 9-clawed dragon was surrounded by hundreds of chains. The 9-clawed dragon kept roaring and attacking, but it was useless. It could not break through the chains. The hundreds of black chains formed from soul power enveloped the void and trapped the 9-clawed dragon in a space. Then, they began to shrink. The 9-clawed dragon's attacks were useless. As the chains shrank, the 9-clawed dragon's range of movement slowly became smaller. Soon, they would wrap around the 9-clawed dragon's body. The 9-clawed dragon could only shrink its body, but it was useless. The black chains also kept shrinking and continued to wrap around the 9-clawed dragon. It's useless. In the myriad soul array, it doesn't matter how high your cultivation is or how strong your attacks are. Be obedient and let us extract your soul. Hee hee. A Wu people's prodigy sneered. Sure enough, no matter how the 9-clawed dragon resisted, it was useless. It could not change the situation. Its body was slowly wrapped around by the black chains. Then, a shocking scene appeared. On the 9-clawed dragon's body, another 9-clawed dragon appeared. Of course, this was not a second 9-clawed dragon, but the 9-clawed dragon's soul. It was being extracted from its body. The 9-clawed dragon's soul kept struggling and roaring. It kept resisting, but it was useless. After all, its strength alone was no match for the strength of more than 80 Wu people's prodigies. His soul was slowly being extracted from his body. At first, it was its head. Slowly, its body was also extracted. Soon, more than half of its soul was extracted. It's time to make a move. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. He did not intend to just watch. Putting everything else aside, the sorcerer tribesman had attacked him twice in a row. He was not that magnanimous, and he was very unhappy with the sorcerer tribesmen. If he could destroy them, he would destroy them. On the contrary, he had a good impression of the Dragon Clan. Along the way, he had a lot of fate with the Dragon Clan. He had the 9 dragons' blood essence and the primordial divine dragon blood in his body. Therefore, when he saw the 9-clawed dragon about to be captured, he would not sit idly by. Also, this was a good opportunity to make a move. All the Wu people's prodigies had set up the 10,000 souls array to deal with the 9-clawed dragon. Now that he made a move, he would definitely catch the other party off guard. Swish! Lu Ming activated the Wind Destroyer boots and rushed out at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, he was above many young sorcerer tribesmen. As he rushed out, Lu Ming activated the battle art, which increased his combat power by 5 times. All 7 drops of primordial divine blood were activated, raising his combat power to the peak. Then, the Gate of Domination flew out and suppressed the void. The Overlord's spear came down like a mountain, making a violent sound. Lu Ming's full strength attack was so powerful that the Wu people were caught off guard. It was too late for them to dodge. They did not even have time to use their scarecrows. Bang! Bang! As the Overlord's spear came down, at least 20 young Wu people exploded and died on the spot. More than 20 young Wu people died in an instant. The 10,000 souls array collapsed on its own. The black chains wrapped around the 9-clawed divine dragon's body immediately collapsed. Roar! The 9-clawed dragon let out an angry roar. The moment the chains were broken, its soul returned to its body. Then it twisted its body and charged towards the young Wu people. Before the young Wu people could react, the 9-clawed dragon had already arrived and slashed down with its claws. A dozen young Wu people were killed. In the blink of an eye, there were only around 40 of the 80 young sorcerer tribesmen left. Oh no, retreat. We've been ambushed. The remaining young Wu people were in a mess. They flew everywhere. Chapter 36-23. Lu Ming suddenly arrived and killed more than 20 young men of the Wu people. Together with the 9-clawed dragon's counterattack, the Wu people suffered heavy losses. There were only 40 Wu people left. They were in complete chaos. Boom! The God's Gate became 10,000 feet large and emitted an extremely powerful suction force. It suppressed the space in this area and didn't give the Wu people a chance to use scarecrows. At the same time, the 9-clawed dragon also knew this. It let out an earth-shattering dragon roar, shaking the space and also affecting the space. Lu Ming pushed his strength to the extreme. He was too powerful. Every time his spear fell, a young man of the Wu people would be killed. In a flash, 7 or 8 people were killed by Lu Ming. On the other side, the 9-clawed dragon was also powerful and killed the Wu people's overlords. These shaman race powerhouses were all proud sons of heaven. They were all 3rd-level divine lord existences. Placed outside, each one of them was an existence that made the scalps of their peers tingle. But in front of Lu Ming and the 9-clawed dragon, they couldn't withstand a single blow and were killed continuously. After the soul attacks that they were most proficient in lost their effectiveness, their strength became even weaker than ordinary sky prides. Run! The rest of the sorcerer tribe members scattered and ran for their lives. They did not dare to stay any longer and ran away in a frenzy, trying to escape. But how could Lu Ming let them escape? Since he had already attacked, he would kill them all. Kill! Lu Ming shouted and used the Wind Destroyer boots. Every time his body flashed, a young man of the Wu people would be killed. The 9-clawed dragon was even more murderous. Just now, he was surrounded by the sorcerer tribesmen and almost had his soul extracted. He was incomparably furious, and at this moment, his killing intent was extremely violent. He unleashed his terrifying power to the extreme. His body was winding, and his dragon claws tore through the air. His dragon horn shone with a bright light, and it emitted a sharp and terrifying divine light. Every time he attacked, a young man of the Wu people would be killed. The two of them killed dozens of young men of the Wu people. It was completely one-sided. Terrified and desperate screams were heard. A moment later, the area was quiet again. Because all the young men of the Wu people were killed, not a single one was left alive. They couldn't even send a message with the Dream Divine Jade because they didn't have the chance. They didn't even have time to run for their lives. How could they have time to send a message? Roar! After killing all the Wu people, the nine-clawed dragon let out a joyful roar. Then his body shrunk quickly and turned into a human. The nine-clawed divine dragon transformed into a young man. He was tall and slender and looked very handsome. He stared at Lu and seemed to be curious. "Are you a human?" The nine-clawed divine dragon sized up Lu Ming. "Obviously, I am," Lu Ming said. "A human who has the bloodline of the nine-clawed dragon and cultivated the primordial divine blood. Strange." The nine-clawed divine dragon muttered in a low voice. There was a sudden burst of fighting intent in its eyes. Its figure moved, and like a phantom, it pounced toward Lu Ming. Boom! The nine-clawed dragon bent his fingers like a claw and clawed at Lu Ming. The sharp energy whistled and tore at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's face changed. Fortunately, he was still in peak condition. He waved the Overlord God's spear and stabbed at the opponent's palm. The opponent's claw changed direction and grabbed at the Overlord God's spear. But Lu Ming waved the Overlord God's spear again. Boom! After a few consecutive exchanges, the two attacks finally collided with each other, causing a violent explosion. But in the next moment, the nine-clawed dragon exploded with an even more violent attack. F***CK. Don't think that I am afraid of you. Lu Ming was furious. He had saved the opponent, but the opponent actually attacked him. This made him extremely unhappy. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The Overlord God's spear swept out continuously, and the attacks were extremely fierce. However, Lu Ming did not use any killing moves. Although the nine-clawed dragon's attacks were violent, they did not contain any killing intent. Lu Ming's spiritual senses were sharp, and he could feel it clearly. The two of them continued to exchange blows. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of blows. The nine-clawed dragon's fighting power was extremely strong. Like Lu Ming, it was also a second-level divine lord. But its fighting power was stronger than anyone Lu Ming had seen. It even surpassed Emperor Jiani. However, it was still not a match for Lu Ming. When Lu Ming finally used all of his origin source secret techniques, the nine-clawed dragon was no match for him and retreated. "Wait! Stop fighting! Stop fighting!" The nine-clawed dragon waved its hands repeatedly. However, Lu Ming did not have the intention to stop. He rushed out and bombarded the nine-clawed dragon. "Hey, I said, stop fighting!" The nine-clawed dragon shouted. "Stop fighting just because you said so?" Lu Ming sneered. He had a stomach full of anger, and he had yet to calm down. In the end, the nine-clawed dragon's handsome face was kicked by Lu Ming. After it was swollen, Lu Ming finally stopped. "You are really vengeful. I just wanted to test your fighting power." The nine-clawed dragon looked at Lu Ming with an aggrieved face. However, there was extreme shock in its eyes. With its fighting power, it was actually suppressed by a human. This was something unbelievable. No wonder the old ancestors said that although the human race is weak, they have endless potential and endless possibilities. Seeing it today, it is indeed worthy of its reputation. A thought flashed across the nine-clawed dragon's mind. "I saved you, but you attacked me. You deserved that kick just now." Lu Ming said coldly. The nine-clawed dragon was speechless and could only accept it silently. After a while it said, "Don't worry, I have no hostility towards you. There are no humans who attacked the dragon race. I didn't expect the Wu people to still be on the mother planet of the dragon race. Brother of the human race, may I ask, how long has it been since the races of the universe attacked the dragon race?" The nine-clawed dragon asked with a confused look. "How long has it been? You really don't know?" Lu Ming was curious. Judging from the nine-clawed dragon's tone, could it have been from dozens of stellar years ago? How could a divine lord live for so long? Perhaps it had something to do with the crystal and the seal from before. "I don't know. When the battle was at its fiercest, I was sealed here by an old ancestor. I don't know what happened after that." The nine-clawed dragon shook its head. Sure enough, this nine-clawed dragon was left behind from that era. Lu Ming speculated that the divine dragon race knew that they would lose, so all the experts of the dragon race made preparations to seal the prodigies of the dragon race and leave behind a seed to prevent them from going extinct. The nine-clawed dragon had been sealed for dozens of stellar years. The battle back then ended long ago. Now, more than 30 stellar years have passed. Lu Ming said, "What? More than 30 stellar years? That long?" The nine-clawed dragon's body trembled and revealed a look of disbelief and confusion. "Yes, more than 30 stellar years have passed." Lu Ming nodded seriously. Chapter 36:24. More than 30 stellar years? More than 30 stellar years have passed. I cultivated for more than 100 years, but when I woke up, more than 30 stellar years had passed. Ha ha ha. The nine-clawed dragon laughed crazily. It took a long time for it to calm down. Lu Ming was stunned. What? This nine-clawed dragon had only cultivated for more than 100 years? It had reached the second-level Divine Lord realm after cultivating for more than 100 years. What kind of monster was this? Lu Ming was a little dumbfounded. It was already very fast for him to cultivate to his current level, but it had been 1 or 2,000 years. But the other party had only cultivated for more than 100 years. This kind of talent was absolutely amazing. Of course, this had to do with the fact that the other party lived on the dragon race's mother planet. However, the dragon race's mother planet back then was definitely not as good as the current cultivation environment of the dragon race's mother planet. The reason why the cultivation environment of the dragon race's mother planet was so good now was that the dragon race's mother planet had been sealed for dozens of stellar years. After so long, the cultivation environment had already become amazing. Otherwise, the prodigies of the other major races would not have racked their brains to come here. Moreover, when the dragon race was at its peak, their numbers were astonishing and there were many prodigies. The resources allocated to each person were also very limited. Although it was already very superior compared to ordinary people, to be able to cultivate to the second-level Divine Lord realm in just over 100 years, this kind of talent was also extremely amazing. More than 30 stellar years have passed. Then, why are the Wu people still on the dragon race's mother planet? Why are you here? The nine-clawed dragon's eyes were full of doubts. It's a long story. Lu Ming sighed. I'm Aoguan. May I know your name? The nine-clawed dragon cupped its fists. Lu Ming. Lu Ming replied. Brother Lu, please tell me what happened in the past few years. Also, how was the dragon race in the battle back then? Aoguan said, looking at Lu Ming expectantly. Sigh. Lu Ming sighed, not knowing what to say. Aoguan had been sealed during the intense battle back then. Clearly, he did not know the outcome of the dragon clan. If he knew, who knew how he would feel? However, Lu Ming still decided to tell him. In that war, the dragon race was annihilated. Lu Ming heaved a long sigh. What? The nine-clawed dragon's body shook violently, and a sorrowful look appeared in its eyes. Although he had already expected this, the battle back then was too tragic. Moreover, the dragon clan's ancestor had sealed him because there was no other way out. Therefore, he could guess some things. However, hearing Lu Ming say that the dragon clan had been destroyed with his own ears, he still found it hard to accept. Next, Lu Ming told him what he knew. After saying this, Aoguan stood there, his entire body trembling. He didn't say a word, but his eyes were completely red, the grief unbearable. Angel race, soul race, Wu people, and the heavenly palace. Aoguan let out a low growl. His eyes were filled with intense killing intent and deep-rooted hatred. Lu Ming stood quietly at the side and didn't say anything. Anyone would have known that such a blow would be like this. After a period of time, Aoguan slowly recovered. Thank you for saving me this time, Brother Lu. Aoguan cupped his fists. It's nothing. Moreover, I'm fated with the dragon race, but the Wu people have a grudge with me. I won't let go of the chance to attack the Wu people. Lu Ming smiled casually. No matter what, you saved me this time. Aoguan, clearly distinguished between gratitude and grudges. Aoguan said, then sighed again. I didn't expect that after so many years, the people of the various races would come to the dragon race's mother planet. They've gone too far. Lu Ming didn't say anything. He was a little embarrassed, as he was also one of them. It's just the younger generation that came in. Very well. Now that I've broken out of seclusion, I'll start a massacre and collect some interest. Aoguan muttered to himself again, his killing intent as cold as a knife. Lu Ming still didn't say anything. Brother Lu, don't worry. I clearly distinguish between gratitude and grudges. You saved me, so I'll repay your kindness. Follow me, Aoguan said. After saying that, he flew behind him and arrived in front of the mound where he was previously sealed. Lu Ming looked curious. After pondering for a moment, he also followed. By now, the mound had already exploded. When he walked in, he saw that there was actually a cave underground. It went straight down, and he didn't know how deep it was. Follow me. After saying that, Ao Guan jumped into the cave in a flash. Lu Ming hesitated for a moment before following him. Ao Guan had no reason to harm him. Firstly, there were no humans who besieged the dragon race back then. In fact, the human race was a very special race in the primordial universe. There were a lot of humans, more than most races. They were spread across the universe, but they were not united. They were like a plate of loose sand and did not form any powerful factions. They were unlike the races on the primordial universe's 10,000 races list, which were almost all gathered together and were very united and powerful. Although there was no lack of experts in the human race, they were very scattered. Secondly, Lu Ming had just saved Aoguan and did not feel any hostility from Aoguan. Hence, Lu Ming only hesitated for a moment before following. The cave was very deep. After going down for a few thousand miles, they suddenly arrived at an underground space. When he arrived at the underground space, Lu Ming's eyes involuntarily widened in deep shock. There were dozens of small trees growing in the underground space. There were dozens of fruits growing on each small tree. Heavenly Genesis fruits. These were all Heavenly Genesis fruits. Lu Ming's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. There were more than 30 Heavenly Genesis fruits. There were at least 100 Heavenly Genesis fruits. These were supreme treasures that could help sever the shackles of secret techniques. There were so many of them here. In Golden Dragon Ridge, Lu Ming had only obtained 3 Heavenly Genesis fruits, and they had already been refined by Lu Ming. There were over 100 of them here. Lu Ming felt his breathing quicken. The battle back then was very intense. The corpses of our enemies were thrown here, and their blood was used to nourish these Heavenly Genesis fruits. I didn't expect them to ripen after so many years, Aoguan explained. Lu Ming finally understood what was going on in the Evil Spirit Valley. The evil spirits of so many races in the Evil Spirit Valley were formed by the enemies of the dragon race. The blood of those races had seeped into the ground to nourish these Heavenly Genesis fruits. Brother Lu, you saved my life. Let's split these Heavenly Genesis fruits in half. I also need these Heavenly Genesis fruits to raise my strength, so I can go out and kill those people to collect interest, Aoguan said. His eyes were filled with hatred at the mention of the races that attacked the dragon race. Many thanks, Brother Ao. Lu Ming did not hesitate in the slightest. He would be a fool to be polite to a treasure like the Heavenly Genesis fruits. The two immediately took action, each taking half of the Heavenly Genesis fruits. Lu Ming roughly calculated that he had obtained a total of 51 Heavenly Genesis fruits. Chapter 36:25. Lu Ming's heart began to pound. 51 Heavenly Source fruits. If he were to take this out, wouldn't people go crazy? After refining these 51 Heavenly Source fruits, he was sure that his secret origin technique would definitely be able to sever the second shackle. And not just one type. With so many resources piled up, even a pig would be piled up. Bah, what nonsense was he thinking? Brother Lu, we shouldn't stay here for long. Let's leave this place first, Aoguan said. All right. Lu Ming nodded. The two left this place. The evil spirits in the Evil Spirit Valley naturally couldn't stop them. Soon, the two left the Evil Spirit Valley. Brother Ao, what are your plans next? Lu Ming asked. Find a place to cultivate, then come out and kill. I won't let any of the races that attacked the dragon race back then off. Aoguan said angrily. You still have to be careful. There are many geniuses from the various races, and some of them are very powerful. Lu Ming warned seriously. Aoguan's talent was amazing, and even Lu Ming had to admire him. After all, Lu Ming had the Origin Ancient character. If he didn't have the Origin Ancient character, he probably wouldn't be Ao Guan's opponent in a battle of the same level. However, Ao Guan's cultivation was still a little low. Among the geniuses from the various races, there were probably some who had broken through to the 4th-level Divine Lord realm. Moreover, during this period, Lu Ming thought of another problem. That was, 33 years ago, there was also a group of people who broke through the 18 weak points. Although it was said that the power of the weak points was amazing at that time, and most of the people who broke through died. However, who could guarantee that no one successfully broke in? Even if they broke in with serious injuries, so many years had passed, and they had cultivated in such a good environment like the dragon race's mother planet, their injuries would have recovered long ago. Moreover, they had been in here for decades, so how powerful would their cultivation be? Therefore, Lu Ming felt a sense of crisis from time to time. Thank you. I won't mess around. I still have to keep my useful body and kill my way to the heavenly palace in the future. Ao Guan smiled. His heroic spirit reached the clouds, and he was also extremely bold. In the primitive universe, anyone who talked about the heavenly palace would be respectful and reverent. However, Ao Guan actually said that he wanted to fight his way to the heavenly palace. Just this courage alone was hard to come by. Lu Ming smiled, cupped his fists, and bid farewell to Ao Guan. The two of them left in two different directions. Lu Ming headed towards the Black Dragon clan. Upon returning to the Black Dragon clan, Lu Ming impatiently went into secluded cultivation. Taking out a heavenly source fruit, Lu Ming swallowed it. With the help of the heavenly source fruit's energy, he cultivated the Overlord God Spear. After a period of time, the energy of the heavenly source fruit was completely absorbed. Of course, a single heavenly source fruit was not enough for the Tyrant God Spear to sever his second shackle. Lu Ming had refined 3 heavenly origin fruits before, and although he felt that he was not far from severing his second shackle, he still hadn't fully recovered. However, the difference of a single line was like the difference between heaven and earth. Wanting to cross it was as difficult as ascending to the blue sky. However, with so many heavenly source fruits in hand, Lu Ming was full of confidence. With so many heavenly source fruits in hand, if he still couldn't succeed, Lu Ming might as well buy a block of tofu and smash his head against it. Continue refining, and then refining. 2, 3, 4. A month later, Lu Ming had refined a total of 10 heavenly source fruits. Lu Ming's face began to turn green. 10 heavenly source fruits in a row, and he still couldn't sever his second shackle? There was no justice in this world. Fortunately, when Lu Ming refined the 12th heavenly source fruit, Lu Ming clearly saw an incomparably powerful energy turn into a ray of divine light and sever the second shackle on the Tyrant God Spear. Boom! As if the seal had been broken, an incomparably terrifying aura rushed out from the Tyrant God Spear, piercing through the clouds and alarming the people of the Black Dragon clan. Brother Lu's strength is truly unfathomable. Feng Zhou sighed as he gazed in the direction of Lu Ming's cultivation. I've finally succeeded. Lu Ming grasped the Tyrant God Spear and felt the boundless power within it. A confident look appeared on Lu Ming's face. The second shackle was 10 times harder to sever than the first, but once it was severed, the power released was also several times stronger. This allowed Lu Ming's battle strength to reach an even higher peak. Including the 3 heavenly source fruits from before, it took a total of 15 to sever the Tyrant God Spear's shackle. I still have 39 heavenly source fruits left, but considering that my understanding and usage of the Tyrant God Spear is the deepest, it will be relatively easier to sever the second shackle. If I want to sever the other origin secret techniques, I'm afraid I'll need more heavenly source fruits, but 1 or 2 will be enough. Lu Ming calculated for a moment. The remaining 39 heavenly source fruits were enough for him to sever the second shackles of 2 origin secret techniques. Then, he continued refining. For the second origin secret technique, Lu Ming chose the wind extinguishing boots. For offensive techniques, the Tyrant God Spear was enough for the time being. If the wind extinguishing boots severed the second shackle, his speed would increase explosively. In this way, his speed and attack would be combined to increase his battle strength. This time, he used a total of 17 heavenly source fruits to sever the second shackle of the wind extinguishing boots. There were still 22 heavenly source fruits left. Lu Ming's third choice was the Wicked Bell. During this period, the Wicked Bell had been of great help to him. It could attack the opponent's soul. If the Wicked Bell severed the second shackle, its power would be even greater. Even if the opponent had a soul defensive treasure, it would still be greatly affected. Contrary to Lu Ming's expectations, the second shackle of the Wicked Bell was even more difficult to sever. He used a total of 19 heavenly source fruits to successfully sever the second shackle of the Wicked Bell. In this way, there were only 3 heavenly source fruits left out of the 51. This made Lu Ming feel a pang of heartache. He had used them too quickly. However, Lu Ming had severed the shackles with 3 consecutive origin secret skills: the attack type, speed type, and soul type. With the combination of the 3, Lu Ming was looking forward to seeing how powerful his combat ability would be. It was worth it. During this period, no one came to disturb Lu Ming. Lu Ming cultivated very peacefully. At this time, Lu Ming took out the illusory sacred jade and looked at it. The public area was even more lively. Many people were discussing the secrets of the various ruins and sacred grounds. In addition, there was a great battle with the native experts of the Dragon Clan's mother planet. Over the past few months, the native experts of the Dragon Clan's mother planet had been increasing. They kept popping up all over the 3 continents. Some were from the Dragon Human Clan. However, there were even more from the Divine Dragon Clan. There were more than a dozen 8-clawed Divine Dragons. These 8-clawed Divine Dragons were most likely sealed in the ruins and sacred grounds back then, Lu Ming pondered. These were obviously left behind by the Dragon Clan's experts back then. Back then, the Dragon Clan's experts had sealed countless Dragon Clan prodigies. Big news, the 9-clawed dragon has appeared. Another piece of news attracted Lu Ming's attention. He clicked on it and saw that it was a video. On the screen, a 9-clawed divine dragon slaughtered a dozen or so foreign geniuses in a row and left. Aoguan. Lu Ming recognized at a glance that it was Aoguan. Chapter 36-26. The appearance of the 9-clawed dragon had caused an uproar in the public area. The 9-clawed dragon was a top-notch prodigy even in the heyday of the divine dragon race. It was extremely rare. But now, one had appeared, and its combat power was shockingly strong. I heard that this 9-clawed dragon said that it wants to kill all of us. Someone revealed the news, causing the crowd to be angry. Kill. We can't let this 9-clawed dragon live. Let's join forces and kill this 9-clawed dragon. Many people spread the news that they wanted to join forces to hunt down the 9-clawed dragon, especially the races that had attacked the dragon race in the past, such as the winged men and the Wu people. They were even more active and actively contacted experts to surround and kill the 9-clawed dragon. Let's hope we can get through this, Lu Ming whispered. Relatively speaking, he still had a good impression of the dragon race and did not want Aoguan to be killed. He paid attention to the situation in the illusory divine jade while cultivating. Soon, a month later, finally, there was an explosive news. The Wu people, the winged men, and other major races had joined forces to hunt down Aoguan, but they were hunted down instead. That was because Aoguan was not alone. In this battle, in addition to Aoguan, a young 9-clawed dragon, 3 8-clawed divine dragons, and more than a dozen top-notch prodigies of the dragon human race had appeared. After an intense battle, the outsiders suffered heavy losses and hundreds of experts were killed. In the end, Aoguan and the others were unable to kill them. Aoguan and the others fled. In this battle, the outsiders suffered heavy losses and caused a huge uproar. There was not only one 9-clawed dragon, but 2. What trump card did the dragon race leave behind on the dragon race's mother planet? How many dragon prodigies did they leave behind? The illusory divine jade was not only connected to the dragon race's mother planet, but also to the entire Eldritch universe. Not only were the prodigies of the various races on the dragon race's mother planet discussing it, but the stronger prodigies of the various major races and the older generation experts were also in an uproar. Not long after, it even shocked the top 10 powerful races. Not long after, a big shot from the angel race, the soul race, and the Blood Race each called for the prodigies of the various races on the Dragon Race's mother planet to join forces and hunt down the remaining Dragon Race members. Those who succeed will be heavily rewarded by the three clans. As soon as this news came out, it shook the entire starry sky. The Angel Race, the Soul Race, and the Blood Race were all terrifying races that were ranked in the top 10. The strength of each clan was unimaginably powerful. They had a deep foundation and countless experts, enough to intimidate the entire starry sky. Back then, among the clans that attacked the Dragon Clan, these three clans were the strongest. Now, the experts of the three clans had announced that they wanted to hunt down the remaining members of the Dragon Clan. Those who succeeded would be rewarded handsomely. These were the top 10 clans. How shocking would their rewards be? Countless people were envious. The prodigies of the various races outside the Dragon Race's mother planet couldn't wait to rush into the Dragon Race's mother planet and kill the remnants of the Dragon Race. Meanwhile, the sky prides of various races on the Dragon Clan's mother planet were in an uproar as if there was an earthquake. One after another, messages appeared in the public area. They were all about the experts that had emerged from the Dragon Clan. There were 9-clawed dragon, 8-clawed divine dragon, and dragon human. Lu Ming was also among them. What does this have to do with me? Lu Ming was speechless. He wasn't a dragon human. It was really an unexpected disaster. Moreover, someone from the Winged Men clan knew him, but they didn't come out to explain. Of course, the Winged Men clan couldn't wait to kill him. It would be strange if they came out to explain. Lu Ming was speechless. He quickly took action and asked the people of the Black Dragon Clan and the Blood Dragon Hall to hide in the Black Dragon Valley. The Black Dragon Valley was very special. As long as they hid inside, no one could enter without the Black Dragon token. Lu Ming also entered the Black Dragon Valley. He wasn't afraid, but he didn't want to cause more trouble. Now, the three top 10 clans had ordered the experts of countless races to join forces to deal with him. If he went out and fought with these races, wouldn't he offend the forces of the entire universe? Then how would he survive after leaving the Dragon Clan's mother planet? He would probably be hunted down all over the universe. Therefore, if he could avoid it, it was better to avoid it. Of course, if he couldn't avoid it, Lu Ming wasn't afraid. No matter what race they were, he would kill them first. With the experts of the three top clans speaking, everyone was very active. Soon, news kept spreading. The various clans joined forces to besiege the Dragon Clan experts on the Dragon Clan's mother planet. However, the Dragon Clan experts were very sensitive. During this period, they all disappeared. Obviously, they were all hiding. The Dragon Clan's mother planet was the territory of these Dragon Clan experts. No matter how many people there were, they couldn't find them if they hid. During this period, the experts of the various clans went out and searched everywhere. They only found an 8-clawed divine dragon and a few dragon human experts. These people were killed one by one. On the other hand, the native dragon human race was implicated and many of them were killed. Time flew. In the blink of an eye, a few months had passed. After a few months, they still couldn't find the 9-clawed dragon and the others. The enthusiasm of the various clans finally died down. They refocused their attention on the relics and cultivation sacred grounds. Just like that, a few more months passed. There was a piece of news. There was a place that was suddenly filled with multicolored light and divine aura. It was extremely mysterious and attracted many people to go there. However, no one could get close to the core area. During this period, more and more people gathered at that place because some people felt that there was a great opportunity there. It's in the soaring dragon continent, and it's not far from here. Lu Ming's eyes moved. After staying in the Black Dragon Valley for more than half a year, Lu Ming decided to go out. Although he had 3 secret techniques to sever his second shackle and his battle strength had greatly increased, he had been going deep into the Black Dragon Valley and obtained some divine medicine. However, his cultivation was still at the 2nd level of the Divine Lord realm. He hadn't broken through yet, and he had reached the limit of the Black Dragon Valley. If he wanted to continue, he would have to make a major breakthrough in battle strength. Therefore, staying in the Black Dragon Valley was a waste of time. He had to go out and find other relics and sacred grounds to obtain opportunities. Otherwise, he would be left behind by others. Lu Ming left the Black Dragon Valley and headed north of the Black Dragon clan. Song Lang Lake. That was Lu Ming's destination. The name of this lake was given by an outsider because there was no lake here in the past. It suddenly appeared not long ago. Lu Ming speculated that the Song Lang Lake should have been hidden by the Dragon Clan's spatial folding technique. That was why it suddenly appeared. Something that could be hidden by the Dragon Clan's spatial folding technique was definitely extraordinary. Many people also thought of this point. Therefore, during this period of time, the surrounding area of the Tsanglang Lake all gathered at the Tsanglang Lake. When Lu Ming arrived, he found an incomparably huge lake. Around the lake, there were constantly flickering figures. Lu Ming looked from afar. In the center of the lake, there was a beam of multicolored light shooting into the sky, illuminating half the sky. That's the island in the middle of the lake. But it's not that easy to go up. Lu Ming pondered. Through the information given by the others in the illusory jade, Lu Ming already had a good understanding of the Tsanglang Lake. Chapter 36:27. The Blue Waves Lake was very wide. There was a small island in the center of the lake, and the light was coming from that island. However, the entire lake was covered by a large array that could not be broken. It was impossible to fly on this lake, and one could only walk on the water. The longest distance one could fly was no more than 100 meters. If one wanted to reach the island, one could only walk on the water. However, the water in this lake was not to be underestimated. Every drop was extremely heavy, and the closer one was to the island, the stronger the waves were. If they were swept in by the waves, they would definitely die given their divine lord cultivation. The closer one was to the island, the stronger the waves were. Thus, no one had reached the island yet. Swoosh, swoosh. Lu Ming was sizing up the lake when he saw a group of people flying out and landing on the lake. They walked on the water and rushed toward the center of the lake. There were fewer people at the shore of the lake. Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming did not stay any longer. He moved and dashed toward the lake. Why does that kid look so familiar? Not far away, there was a group of people. One of them looked at Lu Ming. In this group, there were 11 creatures with wings on their backs. They were the prodigies of the Winged Men clan. The person who spoke was also from the Winged Men clan. As soon as this person spoke, the others also looked at Lu Ming. It's that kid. The eyes of the Winged Men clan's prodigies were filled with cold, murderous intent. Before entering the Dragon clan's mother planet, the Winged Men clan had a deep impression of Lu Ming. At the 19 weak points, Lu Ming had killed many Winged Men clan's prodigies and was extremely arrogant. All the Winged Men clan's prodigies had a deep impression of Lu Ming and wanted to cut Lu Ming into pieces. It's that kid from the Dragon clan. That kid actually ran out on his own and dared to come here. He's courting death. The prodigies of the other clans also recognized Lu Ming. Of course, they had seen Lu Ming's appearance in the illusory divine jade and thought that Lu Ming was a native Dragon clan's mother planet. Many people's eyes shone with a fiery light. The experts of the angel race, soul race, and blood race had announced that anyone who could kill the prodigies on the Dragon race's mother planet would be heavily rewarded. Previously, they had been searching for Lu Ming and the others, but were unable to find them. Now that Lu Ming had run out on his own, how could they let him go? The sky pride of the Winged Men race was the fastest. With a flap of his wings, he dashed towards Lu Ming like a bolt of lightning. That brat is mine. Don't even think about taking it from me. The sky prides of the other races shouted as they charged towards Lu Ming. What bad luck. Lu Ming's face was somewhat gloomy. There were a lot of people around the lake, and people were rushing towards the lake from all directions. He originally thought that no one would notice him so quickly, but he didn't expect to be discovered so quickly. Lu Ming couldn't help but speed up. In the blink of an eye, he rushed into the lake. As soon as he reached the lake, Lu Ming felt a terrifying pressure pressing down on him, causing Lu Ming to fall into the water. Lu Ming circulated his divine power and stabilized himself on the water surface. Just as he was about to run forward, a few extremely fast Winged Men race had already caught up to him. Die, brat. A few Winged Men race members shouted coldly as they flapped their wings. Hundreds of blades swept towards Lu Ming like a storm. You're the ones who will die. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold as the Overlord God's spear appeared in his hand and swept it out. A series of explosions rang out as the blade shattered. Lu Ming's long spear shook once again, and a few spear radiances shot out towards the Winged Min race's sky prides. The Winged Min race's sky prides' faces changed. Their bodies spun rapidly as if countless blades were spinning rapidly, slicing through everything. When the spear radiances collided with the Winged Min race, an ear-piercing sound erupted. In the next moment, the Winged Min race's sky prides retreated frantically, their faces pale. However, this delay allowed the other Winged Min race and the other race's sky prides to arrive. Kill! He's mine! The Winged Min race roared. They saw Lu Ming as a delicious steamed bun, a treasure that could be exchanged for rewards. They scrambled to kill Lu Ming. All sorts of attacks emitted dazzling rays of light that enveloped Lu Ming. You're courting death. Lu Ming's face darkened, and his killing intent grew stronger. He didn't want to offend too many races, but these races wanted to kill him the moment they saw him. Lu Ming wasn't someone who was afraid of trouble. Boom! A violent aura erupted as the battle character art was activated. At the same time, the energy of the Overlord God's spear that had severed the shackles was unlocked. Although the primordial divine blood wasn't activated, the Overlord God's spear had severed 2 shackles. The Overlord God's spear swept out, and a crescent-shaped spear radiance burst out. Wherever the crescent-shaped spear radiance passed by, all the attacks were destroyed. Lu Ming stepped on the surface of the water, and his body grew taller. The Overlord God's spear stabbed out continuously. In an instant, 9 spear radiances burst out. They were like stones as they stabbed towards 9 of the Winged Min race. The Winged Min race's sky prides were shocked. They tried their best to block, but they couldn't. The spear radiance flashed and the 9 sky prides were killed, including 5 Winged Min race's sky prides. Kill. After killing the 9 sky prides, Lu Ming didn't hold back. The Overlord God's spear swept out, and another 5 to 6 sky prides were killed. As a result, the other sky prides were scared. They looked terrified and retreated. Kill me if you want to, and leave if you want to. It's not that easy. Since you've made a move, stay. Lu Ming said coldly. He stepped on the surface of the lake and chased after those people. Since he had already taken action and formed a deadly feud, Lu Ming would not show mercy. Lu Ming's body shot out like an arrow. The Overlord God's spear stabbed, pressed, and smashed. It was a simple attack, but every attack was powerful and unstoppable. Every attack would kill a sky pride. Although these sky prides were all 3rd-level divine lords, their strength wasn't very strong. Otherwise, they wouldn't have stayed at the island by the lake. Among the various races, those who came in were considered ordinary sky prides. There weren't any sky prides that were too monstrous. How could they be a match for Lu Ming? All of them were killed. Run! This freak! I'm from the Bien race. How dare you kill me? These people cried for their parents, but it was useless. Not long later, they were all killed. In the distance, other people saw this and their faces changed. No one dared to help. Damn it! The monstrous sky prides of our various races are all challenging that island. Otherwise, how could he be so arrogant? That's right. But looking at him, he's going to go to that island later too. He'll meet the monstrous sky prides of the various races. At that time, there's only death for him. How greedy. He still dares to come out now. If he hides obediently like a coward, he'll be fine. Now that he wants to snatch the opportunities here, there's only death for him. This kid's combat power isn't weak. If we kill him, the 3 major races will probably reward us handsomely. Speaking of this, many people revealed greedy looks. Chapter 36-28. After killing the Winged Min and some other races, Lu Ming scanned his surroundings and snorted coldly. He stepped on the water and headed toward the center of the lake. The pressure on the lake was very high. Although the pressure was reduced a lot by walking on the water, his speed was not fast. A moment later, a small island appeared in front of him. It was very far away and looked hazy. It looked quite tall. Rumble. In front of him, Huge waves that were a few hundred meters tall kept rolling and surging out from the inside. Lu Ming saw many figures flashing in front of him. All kinds of divine light burst out as they broke through the waves. Only by passing through the huge waves could they move forward. Lu Ming had seen people discussing it in the illusory divine jade. The closer they were to the island, the stronger the waves here. At the periphery, there might only be one giant wave, but further in, there would be 2 giant waves, 3 giant waves, and more. Suddenly, there was a miserable shriek. Lu Ming saw a huge elephant being swept by the huge waves and directly swept into the lake. The huge elephant was extremely terrified and struggled madly. However, it was useless. In the blink of an eye, the flesh and blood on its body disappeared, leaving behind only a skeleton that sank to the bottom of the lake. What a powerful lake! Lu Ming's expression changed slightly. That huge elephant was a 3rd-level divine lord. It was not weak, but it was swept by the huge waves and died without any resistance. The others were even more cautious. They used all their strength. Saber light, sword light, and fist energy soared into the sky, breaking through the huge waves and charging forward. Lu Ming did not hesitate and walked on the water. The place Lu Ming had stepped on was very calm. There were no huge waves, but the first huge wave appeared in front of him. Whoosh! A huge wave that was 100 meters tall rushed toward Lu Ming, wanting to sweep Lu Ming into the huge wave. Break! Lu Ming held the Overlord God's spear with both hands and pressed it down. A huge spear light that was a few hundred meters long blasted toward the huge wave. Boom! The huge wave roared and exploded from the middle. It blasted open a passage. Lu Ming's figure flashed and rushed through the passage. It's that kid from the Dragon Human clan? It's him. This brat actually dares to come. How dare he? But this brat is really strong. He broke through a huge wave with one move. That passage hasn't closed yet. Let's take the opportunity to rush in and save some energy. Some of the surrounding geniuses recognized Lu Ming at a glance. Then, their figures flashed as they rushed towards the tunnel that Lu Ming had broken open. They wanted to take advantage of him and save energy. Trying to take advantage of me? You're dreaming. Lu Ming sneered. He waved his hand and fired a shot. Crash! The spear light bombarded the huge wave, causing the huge wave to roll and the lake water to splash in all directions. Not good. This bastard is so vicious. Those who wanted to take advantage of the situation screamed in horror and frantically retreated. However, more than half of them were too late and were swept away by the huge wave and died in the blink of an eye. Although the remaining people managed to avoid a calamity, they were still splashed by the lake water. This kind of lake water was extremely terrifying. Their protective divine power was completely useless and was directly penetrated. Those geniuses had small holes in their bodies and were heavily injured. Damn it! Those people looked at Lu Ming with resentment. Lu Ming smiled and continued forward. Send a message to the people in front. Tell them that this dragon human bastard has arrived and let them kill him. Good idea. Immediately, someone used the illusory divine jade to send a message to the people in front. After passing through a huge wave, the lake had calmed down a lot. However, looking forward, 100 miles away, there were still huge waves surging to the sky. There were 2 huge waves. Many geniuses were breaking through the waves. Lu Ming stepped forward. However, after walking for dozens of miles, he saw a group of people leaping over. There were at least 30 of them. They walked on the water and formed a fan shape as they surrounded Lu Ming. It seems that the people behind me have spread the news. Lu Ming's expression was somewhat gloomy. Soon, more than 30 geniuses approached. Lu Ming looked over and saw that these geniuses came from 7 or 8 different races. Almost all of them were powerful races on the primitive, desolate 10,000 races list. Among them, there were 2 geniuses from the Winged Men race. The 2 Winged Men race did not point out that Lu Ming was an outsider. They just coldly looked at Lu Ming. It really is this kid. This dragon human brat actually dares to come here. Haha, capture him and you will be heavily rewarded. Dozens of geniuses looked at Lu Ming with fiery eyes. I'll give you a chance. If you turn around and leave now, you can live. If you want to attack me, be prepared to be killed. Lu Ming said coldly. Haha, we have so many people. Who can you kill? Ridiculous. Attack. How could these people retreat just because of Lu Ming's words? With a roar, they stepped on the surface of the lake and charged toward Lu Ming. Some of them were very strong. For example, the two-winged Min race geniuses were definitely not weaker than the red-haired youth from the fire centipede race. Lightning, flame, ice. All kinds of terrifying attacks swept toward Lu Ming. If an ordinary person was besieged by so many people, they would have been beaten to a pulp in an instant. However, Lu Ming was not an ordinary person. I gave you a chance, but you just had to court death. Lu Ming roared. Spear radiance shot up into the sky and then pressed down. Boom. Under the pressure of the spear radiance, everyone's attacks directly collapsed. The few geniuses who were in front of the spear radiance were pressed down by it. They screamed and their bodies exploded. The rest of the people's faces changed slightly. However, they did not retreat. In a flash, they attacked Lu Ming from 4 directions, especially the two-winged Min race. They attacked Lu Ming from different directions at an alarming speed. The two-winged Min race were from the Thunderous Winged Man race and the Golden Winged Man race. The Thunderous Winged Man race held a lightning spear in his hand and stabbed it toward Lu Ming's glabella at an alarming speed. As for the Golden Winged Man race, thousands of sword radiances appeared around him and stabbed toward Lu Ming. With the two-winged Min race and the other people's attacks, it was a sure kill attack. I'll kill you first. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. With a roar, he threw out a punch. With this punch, more than 100 nine-clawed dragons immediately rushed out. Divine Dragon Aspect Art. More than 100 nine-clawed dragons blocked these attacks. Lu Ming moved and rushed toward the Golden Winged Man race. The Golden Winged Man race's face changed. He wanted to retreat, but Lu Ming was faster than him. In a blink of an eye, he caught up with him and became one with his spear. He turned into a dazzling spear radiance and stabbed toward the Golden Winged Man race. Not good. The Golden Winged Man race's face changed. He felt a fatal threat from this spear. The golden feathers all over his body flew out and gathered together to form a golden feather shield in front of him. However, Lu Ming's current strength was too strong for him to block. The spear radiance pierced through, and the golden feather shield exploded. The spear radiance flashed, and the Golden Winged Man race's body stiffened. His glabella was pierced by the spear radiance, and his body fell into the lake. Chapter 36-29. Given Lu Ming's current ability, he could kill anyone who was 1 level higher than him, unless they were extremely monstrous. Even if they were like the red-haired youth from the Fire Centipede clan, there was no suspense at all. After killing the Golden Winged Man, Lu Ming did not stop. He swung the Overlord's spear, and it flew towards the Thunder Winged Man like a bolt of lightning. It was unstoppable and unstoppable. The Overlord's spear broke through all the attacks and defenses of the Thunder Winged Man and pierced through him. How is this possible? The Thunder Winged Man's eyes were filled with disbelief. Lu Ming's cultivation was only a 2nd-level Divine Lord, 1 level lower than him. With his strength, he was killed by Lu Ming. How is this possible? There were not many in the entire universe who had such combat strength, unless it was those freaks on the Universe Prodigy list. Could it be that this dragon human race native's talent was comparable to those freaks on the Universe Prodigy list? He found it hard to believe, but in the next moment, his vision turned black and he fell into the lake. Let's go. Retreat. Seeing Lu Ming kill 2 freaks from the Winged Man race in an instant, the others were scared. They broke out in cold sweat and frantically retreated, no longer daring to attack Lu Ming. Kill. Lu Ming shouted coldly, grabbed the Overlord's spear, and chased after them. He killed a few more before the others retreated. Lu Ming stepped forward and soon arrived in front of the huge wave. The nearby prodigies who were charging through the huge wave were shocked when they saw Lu Ming. They had seen Lu Ming kill the Winged Man race's prodigies from dozens of miles away. They knew that Lu Ming's combat strength was not something they could fight against. In an instant, everyone in the area retreated, not daring to get close to Lu Ming. Rumble. Two huge waves came crashing towards Lu Ming with shocking power. Lu Ming's expression did not change. The Overlord's spear became a few thousand meters long and pressed down. The huge wave was split open, creating a path. This scene made the surrounding people even more shocked. They had worked so hard but still found it difficult to break through two giant waves. However, Lu Ming had broken through them with just a casual strike. This level of power was truly shocking. It far surpassed them. Lu Ming was expressionless. He stepped forward and passed through the two huge waves. What should we do? Are we just going to watch this dragon-human aboriginal act so arrogantly? That's right. There are so many of us here, yet we can't do anything to him. If news of this gets out, it'll be embarrassing. After Lu Ming left, those people discussed animatedly. This brat's combat strength is indeed abnormally strong. With our strength, we're definitely not his opponent. However, he's not invincible. This brat keeps moving forward. In front of him, there are many top experts from various races. A young man said, "That's right. Let's send a message to the people at the front. Let the group of heavenly geniuses at the front to attack this brat. There are fourth-level divine lords at the front, as well as some terrifying monsters. The Wu people, the winged race, and the other races ranked in the top 200 all have quite a few people at the front. All right, send the message." Immediately, these people used the illusory divine jade to send out the message. After Lu Ming passed through the two huge waves, there was another area in front of him that was calm. Of course, there were huge waves 100 miles ahead. One could see from afar that there were 3 huge waves. Each wave was higher than the previous one. There were also many heavenly geniuses breaking through the waves. To reach that small island, one had to break through layer after layer of huge waves. Up until now, no one had broken through all the huge waves and rushed to that small island. Lu Ming stepped forward and soon arrived in front of the huge waves. As soon as Lu Ming arrived, many eyes filled with killing intent looked at Lu Ming. Their eyes were like sharp swords, as if they wanted to penetrate Lu Ming's body. However, no one made a move. No one made a move. It seems like they received the voice transmission from those people before and don't dare to make a move on me. Do they want to let me in and let the experts in front kill me? A thought flashed through Lu Ming's mind, and he guessed the other party's plan. However, Lu Ming was fearless. Now, he already had 3 kinds of origin secret arts to sever the second shackle. Adding in second-level divine lord cultivation, 7 drops of primordial divine blood. With so many means added together, even Lu Ming himself could not figure out how strong he was when he unleashed his full power. No matter how monstrous the other party was, as long as their cultivation did not exceed his by too much, he was confident that even if he was not a match, he could still escape. Break! Lu Ming roared, brandishing the Overlord God's spear, bombarding the 3 huge waves. When the 3 huge waves converged, the offensive power was indeed very shocking. It was much stronger than the 2 huge waves. However, it still could not stop Lu Ming. The Overlord God's spear pressed down and broke through the huge waves. Lu Ming rushed through. Very soon, Lu Ming arrived in front of the 4 huge waves. There were also many heavenly geniuses here. After seeing Lu Ming, they still did not make a move. They just looked at Lu Ming coldly. Some people's eyes contained burning flames. Lu Ming did not stop and continued to break through the huge waves and advance. In front of him was the 5 huge waves. Still, no one made a move. After that, there were 6 huge waves. Still, no one made a move. After breaking through the 6 huge waves, there was still a calm lake in front of him. 100 miles away, the huge waves surged to the sky. This time, there were 7 huge waves. In front of the 7 huge waves, there were a dozen figures scattered in different directions. Looks like I'll have to make a move here, Lu Ming muttered as he stepped forward. As expected, when Lu Ming arrived in front of the huge waves, a dozen sharp gazes swept over Lu Ming. Then, with a flash, a dozen people moved at the same time, surrounding Lu Ming. A Wu people and a winged clan. Lu Ming looked around and found that there were Wu people and winged clan. It was really a small world. This brat is finally here. Let's deal with him here. Do we need so many people to deal with this brat? These people discussed secretly. They looked at Lu Ming as if they were looking at a dead man. This person has a great feud with the Winged Clan. I've received news that he has killed many of our prodigies. Leave him to me, the Winged Clan prodigy said coldly. This Winged Clan prodigy was also a Golden Winged Clan prodigy. His entire body was golden, and even his eyes were golden. The Golden Winged Clan was the royal clan of the Winged Clan. They were very powerful. He stepped forward, and a terrifying aura spread out from his body. Although he was also a third-level Divine Lord, the pressure he gave off was very great. Those who were able to make it this far and break through the 6 waves were all top-notch geniuses, geniuses among geniuses, and experts among experts. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes slightly. Even he felt a trace of pressure. Kill. The Golden Winged Clan prodigy suddenly shouted. He flew towards Lu Ming like a golden-winged rock. His golden wings were like 2 divine blades, slashing towards Lu Ming's neck. After activating the battle character art, the Tyrant God's spear swept out. Boom! The Tyrant God's spear and the Golden Winged Clan prodigy's wings collided, and a violent explosion erupted. The Golden Winged Clan prodigy retreated, and the Tyrant God's spear vibrated non-stop. Lu Ming also retreated more than 10 steps. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.